So kindly, Dorah, tell us more about yourself.
Thank you so much. So I am Dorah Momanyi. I am a, I am a master's graduate from Jomo Kenyatta, and I studied food science and nutrition. And sometimes when I'm not doing business, I teach in the same university part-time. But what I do mainly is I founded a climate smart agribusiness startup called IPOP Africa. And why I highlighted JQuat is because the company stemmed from my master's research. And and what I want really to, why I am doing all this is, or what wakes me up is to see a country free from malnutrition in all its forms.
Thank you. Congrats on IPOP Africa. I've checked it up and I see they are doing a job.
Thank
I
you.
believe there's a branch of it called Sustainable Ugali Initiative. Can we get a pick on that?
Yeah, so Sustainable Ugali Initiative is still in the making, not so much out there, but basically what we will be doing with Sustainable Ugali Initiative is we know that maize production is really declining because of climate change.
Yeah.
So we want people to eat ugali not only from maize but from other indigenous traditional cereals that, despite the effects of climate change, despite drought, you can at least get some harvest compared to maize, which needs more water. And we know the water resource is really being depleted. So that is what Sustainable Ugali initiatives will do.
Dora, are you saying there's something else that we can make ugali from? Yeah.
And when I was growing up, my parents and other entrepreneurs whose stories will be like, my parents had a huge piece of land and they used to do agriculture. My parents had a small piece of land where we grew maize mainly for subsistence. And there was also a kitchen. But one of your punishments when you err at home is you can dig either of the farms. Either you can grow crops or you can plant new seedlings, especially in the kitchen garden. So for all these reasons, I really hated agriculture. But that was in the past. So recently, as I highlighted, I did my research in JQuat. Out of my research work, I worked mostly on the indigenous grains. I've worked on amaranth, millet, sorghum, on the traditional vegetables. Yeah, so my research was collecting samples from the field, taking them to the lab, analyzing, and I also got opportunities to attend conferences, especially those outside the country. One time I'm in Europe and I find baobab. Baobab is a tradition, is an indigenous
African
tree.
Yeah,
and it has a lot of potential and something missing here. And then, of course, when I'm doing my research in the lab, and then you find a very unique nutritional profile. For example, baobab has 10 times vitamin C compared to an orange. And let's say amaranth or millet or sorghum, they have a very good protein profile. And then you look at the households you got these baobab from, or you got these amaranth millet from. Those households are either grappling with food insecurity, barely putting food on their table, or they're of course a poor household with children not going to school because of finances. We can say a household or households living below the poverty line. But see, baobab from their farm is costing 1,000 shillings elsewhere, and they're selling it at only 200. So there was a gap there that needed to be filled. So that is where my agribusiness idea stemmed from, to fill this gap that is not adding up between what you see in the field and what is in the market. So first, I started by knowledge creation. Maybe you've seen Nutritious Agriculture Network around my social media pages, creating awareness about what we have. We have wealth. We have wealth in form of money, in form of the nutritional profile, but we are not exploiting it. And then, of course, then it later grew to IPOP Africa, which utilizes our own biological resources that are, in most cases, really available through value addition. So that is my whole story of why I'm in agribusiness today.
So that's a very inspirational story by the way. Personally, I grew up doing those farming you're saying you are being punished to do. I used to do that as it was a day thing.
Oh.
So that's very inspirational.
Yeah, thank
So
you. Mhm.
what is the role of agribusiness and agriculture in Africa and their effects on the economy? I believe you've been out there, you've seen the economy and the impact of agriculture out there, and
Mhm.
you've been brought up here, so you know the impact of
Yeah.
agriculture on the economy here. So how can you compare those two? How can you?
It's such
Mm,
a that Africa agriculture employs the poorest, but yet agriculture contributes to 33% of the GDP. Like in Kenya, it's about 33%
yeah.
of the GDP. But see who are in agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
the oldest and the poorest. So agriculture plays a big role in the economy, in our gross domestic profits. Agriculture and agribusiness also translates to food and nutrition security. We know food and nutrition security is one of the four pillars by the government. And
Yeah.
we also know security will translate to a healthy, or we can say a well-nourished population. And
Mm-hmm.
if we have a well-nourished population, that translates to healthy systems that are not overwhelmed. We know what happened during COVID. I think I'll start from
Back.
my second
We're
point.
back.
Yeah, I was saying agriculture and
Mm.
agribusiness, we know translates to food and nutrition security, which is one of the four big four agendas. And a food secure nation, or a food and nutrition secure nation, means a well-nourished population. That means fewer and fewer people are going to hospital, and that means our health systems are not overwhelmed. And if our health systems are not overwhelmed, we know public health is one of the factors of a thriving economy. Then that means we have a thriving economy, which stemmed all the way from agriculture and agribusiness. And we know agriculture again and value addition results to employment. We know in Kenya, for example, it's about 40% of employment stems from agriculture in the urban areas. In the rural areas, it's almost 100%, like about 70% of people are employed by,
It's actually 85%. Almost everybody farms in one way or the other.
yes, a really big
Yeah.
percentage. So again, we see with agriculture translating to employment of especially the youth population and women. That means we have lesser unemployed people, and therefore we know the cost of unemployed people is usually high. They depend on the few employed people, for almost everything. So again, that means a suppressed economy, fewer
Yeah.
people being able to put, to even afford the basic needs. So yeah,
Mm.
that's what I could say about agriculture and the economy.
And the economy. That is good. That's a good point. So I saw your Nutritious Agriculture Network, NAN.
Mhm.
They are focusing on climate change. They're ensuring that
Yes.
there's conducive climate in Africa and stuff. So how has global warming affected this industry? Like how has global warming affected
Mhm.
agriculture and agribusiness industry in Africa?
Mhm. Yeah, so I can say the arrow points both direction. Global warming is affecting agriculture and agribusiness, and
Mm.
agriculture and agribusiness is also affecting global warming, or is actually the biggest influencer for global warming. So you see, agriculture
Mhm.
contributes to global warming. But when we talk of sustainable agriculture, which is where we want to move to, or we can say resilient agriculture, where we want to move to, could be could could result in reducing global warming and even its consequences.
Yeah.
And how does agriculture cause global warming? Look at a small holder farmer who
Mhm.
has harvested 20 bags of sorghum because sorghum, for example, which is drought tolerant. Let's say in Kitui, where we source our sorghum, the farmer has harvested 20 bags, and this farmer has nowhere to take this sorghum. They either will use it in making porridge at home or cooking ugali, and that is it. And eventually, the sorghum will be attacked by pests, and they will lose all that and dispose it somewhere to decompose. And decomposition results in release of some greenhouse gases, which contributes to global warming. And if you look at statistics, you have better statistics. Maybe it's like about 10% of greenhouse gases will stem from either the decomposition of food waste or food losses along the value chain.
Yeah.
And also how, again, agriculture contributes to global warming is, food from Kitui will travel all the way to Nairobi. And even before it gets to Nairobi, at the farm level, you have added fertilizer. If you are mechanized, you have used maybe a thresher, and all these contribute to the release of carbon dioxide. And if in developed nations, handling of food releases a lot of CO2, then in Africa it could be lesser. But it really doesn't matter how much CO2 we are producing. We know Africa is going to suffer the most from the consequences of, global warming. So we really need to adapt. But then, how has global warming affected the agriculture and agribusiness? So we know, first, I think I have already said, global warming has resulted in a decline in harvest, especially maize and wheat and rice. These are crops that need a lot of water resources, and this resource is dwindling, or it's reducing day after day. And that means, again, if we are harvesting lesser and lesser, then smallholder farmers are selling lesser and lesser. That means also shrinking incomes on their side. And again, a trigger for the poverty cycle and the malnutrition cycle, which have been so rampant in Kenya, of course, and in Africa. We're also looking at pastoralist communities who have been affected by global warming. It's actually worse because you see the animals die, you see them move from one place to another, and there has been all this wave about the COP26 and now the COP27, which is heading to Egypt, and you find that they have not really addressed the loss and damage, and this is something that is really, really hard for pastoralists who are already vulnerable, and then global warming, drought, and then adapting to losing their main source of livelihood is usually very difficult. And of course, the nutritional quality of crops keep reducing as effects of global warming, are on the rise, because the greenhouse gases always disrupt how how the nutritional profile of crop is formed as they grow. Yeah, so I could say that.
That is good. That is good. So based on that, I think I can pop something in. So NAN, what are some of the projects that NAN is doing to ensure that your vision of climate change and nutrition and malnutrition is eradicated? Like, are you guys educating people? Are you running campaigns? Are you doing anything towards achieving that vision and your missions?
Yeah, so and NAN and IPOP Africa are really intertwined. So what we have done, about climate change, we have we participate in like the last event we had was mainly online virtual events, bringing together young people to just dialogue, to talk about climate change, and of course, to sensitize young people, and because this virtual thing doesn't reach the grassroots, we also have grassroots initiatives where we go down to the village and break down this climate change thing to people. And then I said it's intertwined with IPOP Africa. What IPOP Africa does, we mainly process snacks and breakfast cereals. For every snack one person buys, we plant a tree. And so what we're really doing is encouraging eco-friendly patches. You know, you're eating a product that is fully made in Kenya with Kenyan traditional grains. We also add honey and herbs and spices, all natural, all from Kenya. So we don't import. That means a short value chain. That means reduced emissions. And then drought tolerant crops. That means reduced usage of water. And then you're eating a package and we're planting a tree on your behalf. And we know the effects of, trees on climate change.
Yeah, trees are the future, right?
Yes.
So that is a good one. And I think the most important thing right now to counter the effects of climate change, maybe in future is educating the youth mostly. Education is, I think, is the key.
Yeah,
So
lack of information is such a big problem.
Yeah, sure. On to our next question. Did the corona pandemic affect this agriculture industry? And is there a positive point of the pandemic that can be rescued as favorable?
Oh, yes. I think everyone has an excuse of COVID. If you're crying of low revenues, it's COVID. Everything is direct towards COVID, especially for our industry. People have always viewed snacking as a luxury good. So you tell somebody to buy, popped. It's a very new product. It's sorghum, but which is popped. And they're like, you're telling them to buy at 100 shillings. They're like, oh no, I can get popcorn at 10 shillings, along the street. But they don't understand what we are giving them in this package and what is in the 10 shilling package of popcorn. So the what people view as luxury goods was really affected. And so we suffered from low incomes and low revenues and profits. Also, of course, those people who import, there are people who import their main raw materials. And we know borders were closed for a long, long time and business had to stop. There are people even who import, machines or equipment to use in production, in agriculture or in agribusiness for those who do value addition. So we know they had to wait for such a long time. And of course, the aftermath is delayed production or inefficient production and losses, again, low incomes. And of course, the agriculture and agribusiness industry, which always produced food. We know what happened is that even today, people still go, like 1 out of 5 people still go to bed hungry. Or and also we know obesity as well is on the rise. You find actually that for women that the number of women who are suffering from obesity is actually higher. So what COVID did really is to expose these vulnerabilities. So yes, the industry was affected, but the positive thing we can see from COVID is that for a long time we have increased our agriculture production. The government reports they have increased funding in agriculture, but the COVID pandemic exposed the weaknesses and the inequalities. You find there are people, even during COVID, they really didn't even have a problem of getting, going to the market, walking into a supermarket and buying their fruits or their vegetables as usual. But we find there are people who couldn't access, some types of food because borders were closed or something like that. So what COVID did positively is expose these weaknesses, these fragilities and inequalities. And today you can see a lot of, momentum towards allocating more resources in agriculture and even for agribusiness startup. And again, now you can see a lot of, if you just type SDG today, or you type food security, or you type agribusiness, you will see a lot of stuff pop up. Or maybe you're looking for investors in agriculture, you will see a lot of opportunities pop up. So also COVID has led to an increased momentum towards agriculture and agribusiness for different value chains. If you start from last year, there was a huge summit only on food systems. Actually, I didn't know what food systems are until there was all these big wave from national level, regional, and then at continental level, and then global level. And then of course we have seen the COP26, COP27 on climate change. There was a Nutrition for Growth Summit. And this year, actually, the African Development Bank mainly said 2022 is the year for action for nutrition in Africa. So all this momentum has actually brought, which was as a result of COVID, has brought a green light for agriculture and for agribusiness. And also the efforts every country at national level is working towards to meet the sustainable development goals, given that we only have
the world,
8
even
years.
the World Bank too. The World Bank too also is doing something about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can see big leaders in the economy really working towards seeing agriculture and agribusiness thrive. Yeah.
That was good. So most agricultural cooperatives in Africa have a problem with ensuring competitive levels due to capitalization problems. So can we consider this as the main problem to the survival of these cooperatives, like the lack of money, I think?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can say, the lack of money is a big issue everywhere. Even I can start complaining about money. If you ask me, shida yako ni nini, Dorah, I will tell you, I don't have money.
Why you wake up in the morning?
To look, money. Why are we even waking up in the morning to look for money? Yeah. So, but you see, when it comes to cooperatives, I think if the cooperative spirit is really kept alive and genuine, especially in advancing the agriculture agenda, I could simply say that the problem is not capital.
Yeah.
Because cooperatives, I think I had a story one time I interviewed during my research. I interviewed a startup. Was it in Kwale? I used to Kwale. There's a lot of the yellow passion and some oranges, and they were heavily funded by World Bank to process. So they had the money, but the problem was not. There was no technical problem. There was no financial problem. I think the problem comes in as the social or the soft skill problem. I could call it lack of transparency.
The know-how.
Yeah. The know-how, how to head the cooperative. Yeah. Lack of transparency. You see, when you get 5 million as a cooperative, everyone is fighting to get their share. So at the end, there's no accountability, there's no transparency, and then you add greed in there. Unhealthy competition within members, and then cooperatives just die. But if the spirit was really alive, if it was so genuine, I could say cooperatives could thrive. And I think there's a way investors lean towards investing in cooperatives, because most investors, they're looking at social impact or at environmental impact. And social impact is the first thing you see from a cooperative that is bringing together smallholder farmers. I am selling my sorghum at 30 shillings, direct to a broker. But now this cooperative, I will sell my sorghum at 50 shillings to the cooperative. That means increased income for me as a smallholder farmer. So the social impact is so clear, and therefore in convincing an investor to come in is very easy. But when they come in, then you see now the problems, the other problems of know-how.
The problems of kickbacks.
Yes,
And
arising.
some, yeah. So can we incorporate these cooperatives, and are they facing the same problems that small scale farmers, the indigenous farmers, are facing?
So I can say, indigenous farmers, the problem, the indigenous farmers are the poorest.
Yeah, those guys with
And
millets, baobabs now, those guys with those good nutritious things now. Are they facing the same
good stuff.
problems? Yeah, good
They are
things.
facing the same. They are facing the same problem, because if I am incorporated into a cooperative, a baobab cooperative today, and I am told for us to export our baobab to Germany, for example, Germany market, first I need to harvest my baobab when it is mature.
Yeah.
2, I need to handle it in an area which is very clean, so that when it goes to the Germany market, I meet the standards of quality.
Yeah.
But because I am a farmer who is like, hey, they have told me Germany needs 100 tons of baobab, I will harvest this baobab today, even before it is dry. I will just call in anybody. Aponje, I spread my what do we call it? My baobab there. The sun is heating it, it dries up, and all that contamination, microbial contamination. And then I take it to the exporter or the cooperative that is exporting. And then I wait to be paid. And then I'm called back. I'm told, or your 5 tons are defective. They have microbial contamination. So we are not taking it. We are not paying you. And you see now that the problem comes in. You don't have income. If you could have only waited for another 1 month and give quality stuff, and then again the problem comes in.
How can I wait when I have to eat?
I know, but I can't wait. I can't wait.
Those people get right actually below, they can't. They start eating it when it's green, like
Yeah.
So
Big problem.
okay, next, it's a big problem. Next, draw our next question. It seems precision agriculture, an approach to farm management that uses information technology to ensure that crops and soil receive exactly what they need for optimum health and productivity, is gaining importance very quickly in Africa. For example, the use of drones, satellite images, remote sensing, etc. Could this be the end of food shortage in Africa? And should the curriculum include this topic in professional education?
Yeah, so I can say first, our curriculum. Let me talk about the 844 yenye nilipitia. Up to graduate level and postgraduate level, I can say it totally fails the average young person. The young person who has left the village high school, and then now they go to Jomo Kenyatta University. All you know is that small bubble, and now you're in university and you're waiting for your white collar job. We have been failed by our curriculum. I think
which is
our
not
curriculum,
white collar job, which is not there. Sorry.
Which is not there.
Exactly.
So if you're a young person in that bubble, you definitely suffer. But if you're a young person who is interacting with external forces, like you enter university, you join a nutrition club, you go for nutrition symposium, then the external forces are the ones actually that will enable a young person to limp out of this bubble or balloon that the current curriculum leaves young people in. I can tell you today, I founded IPOP Africa, but I can tell you until my master's level, I thought entrepreneurship is a waste of time. I knew co-curricular activities is a waste of time, actually. I can tell you a story. When I finished my undergraduate, my parents wanted me to go straight to my master's. And that time I got an opportunity to go for an internship in Japan. And my father was like, "You're not going anywhere, by the way. You have to finish your master's studies." So I can say the environment, a young person, an average young person is brought up, and then they face this curriculum. I can say it is really not sufficient. So I could not agree more that the curriculum should include topics on professional education, where you learn the principles and techniques in their real practice. But also, young people also, or through the curriculum, you should also learn the soft skills and social entrepreneurship. Indeed, precision agriculture, and of course, I will also talk about precision nutrition, where in the future you will walk into a hotel and they measure your height, weight, your blood sugar, and your maybe genetical makeup, and they serve you exactly the amount of nutrients you're supposed to eat. Yeah. So that is the future, and for sure, precision agriculture and nutrition are the future of ending food shortage and also working on a sustainable nutrition strategy. Yeah, I can say.
So you are
So
in
what
for
I can say, I am so in for for technology in agriculture and nutrition. And I think what people should do, all stakeholders through the value chain, irrespective, you know what the problem is usually among many stakeholders is we value the hierarchy more, who is on top or the age. And this often you find it overshadows the kind of leadership, the kind of transformational leadership we want in agriculture, agribusiness, and of course in nutrition. And if we embrace transformational leadership, it will allow us incorporate technology and in agriculture and agribusiness. And if we incorporate technology, we know the young people are the most tech savvy, and therefore we will have young people lead revolutionizing agriculture and agribusiness. So yes, precision agriculture, yes.
So we love young farmers like you and me, right?
I know, young farmers who are not suffering.
Have you ever been to a farm and literally dug? Like, have you ever done farming, like digging?
Many times. Many times.
You lie.
I am not lying. Many times I have grown sweet potatoes.
Okay,
And
I'm asking, like, literally were you the one digging?
Why are you not even believing me? I am the one. I don't even, not even Kitambo. Very recent.
Okay.
I've even harvested. I have harvested maize, from the cob, kudondoa, and then so I am very, very agriculture oriented. But I could wish agriculture was easier than it is now. Yeah, because it's, after that, because you have to do it, but if you're given a choice, you're given, I can give you, money and you can put people in that farm. I could jump.
Actually, that is what most people are calling farming nowadays. You're just paying for everything and you're sitting down and then you're saying, I'm a farmer, and you did nothing.
Yeah.
The money is doing everything.
Money is doing the talking.
Yeah. So on to the next question. So would you advise any investors to come and invest in agriculture and agribusiness in Africa?
Oh yes. I think today, if you call a young entrepreneur who is just starting off, hey, I'm looking for grants. I am looking for grants. And entrepreneurs are looking for grants actually, because banks are so ready to give you loans And as when you're starting up, I can tell you that is the worst, especially when you don't have another source of income. That is the worst form of investment you can pick up. So I can say yes, we want investors to come in Africa and to invest specifically in agriculture and agribusiness. But why Africa? Now, Africa has a lot of natural bioresources that have been underutilized. And the only way we can utilize our bioresources is by investing in people who are ready to take our bioresources, let's say millets, the common millet, to take it to another level. When you're finding millet as a snack, yani unaweza kula wimbi ukitembea, ukienda safari zako, umepanda gari yako hapo ena coach, and then you're snacking on millet. That is where we want to see our bioresources, and this needs a lot of investment. And of course, we have talked about the bulging youth population, and most of them are really educated. We have said they're tech savvy, and these are the people we need to invest in. And there are so many. So investors have people who are ready to use their money and give them, the profits they need. And now, unlike hizo siku za kitambo, there's a lot of economic potential in Africa. So it is a barren land where investors can invest. And why agriculture and agribusiness? We have said there are high returns, especially if you advance your agriculture into agribusiness where you're doing value addition. There are high returns on investment. And then, of course, if we have investors, that means hybrid partnerships and collaborations that we actually need to take. They can give me money. I have my product, but I need my product to go to the northern parts of Africa where there is dire need of ready to eat food, So that calls for collaboration and partnership. So that's why we also need investors. And of course, we know we are grappling with low incomes, especially in rural areas. We want better food and nutrition security. We want a sustainable environment, and we want to reverse the effects of climate change. And these are things that need heavy investment for us to move from where we are to a better place in all these areas. We really need a lot of investment. Yeah,
that's good. So basically, there are extensive unused lands in Africa. The climate is conducive, and the young population gives a massive labor to invest in agriculture. That is good. That is good. So what is the future of agribusiness and agriculture in Africa? Where do you see agriculture in Africa in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so as people say, it's the next billionaire industry. Some can say it is the next oil. It's the next Saudi Arabia.
Actually, I saw World Bank ranking of agriculture in Africa to be a $1 trillion project in the next 10 years.
Imagine, that is big. That is big.
It will be big. So
so you said about $1 billion. So
$1 trillion project.
That is massive. So many stakeholders are giving it a priority. Many partners are willing to invest in agriculture and make leaders in agriculture. So that is where we see agriculture in the future. And we are also foreseeing a highly mechanized for agriculture and agribusiness if we incorporate young people with high tech. And then in future, we will also have an opportunity to eat what you are supposed to eat right from your phone and at the comfort of your home. We're also going to see very, very creative foods coming up, very innovative foods. We know about biotechnology and genetically modified foods, which are really debated.
Your Ugali, don't forget your Ugali.
Yes, a sustainable ugali right from Africa. We don't need to import maize from, Mexico.
Mexico.
So
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to see very, very creative and innovative foods. We're also going to see, less investment in the land resources. We have seen technologies like vertical farming. You just need a small space to plant
Yeah.
a lot of, vegetables, even in your balcony. So we're going to see less and less investment in land resources.
Mhm.
And then we're also going to see a high demand in or a shift in consumption patterns, and therefore a high demand in convenient food products. And we also call them ready to go food products. But they
Yeah.
will still be nutritious food products. You know what we have today? Of course, you'll go to the supermarket and grab a pack of crisps. But what are you eating? A lot of oil, a lot of salt in there.
Mhm. Mhm.
But in the future, we will see you're able to grab a pack of, let's say, popped sorghum, which is very nutritious and also very affordable, and it's also very convenient. You just carry it and go your way. So that is
Yeah.
the niche we are trying to fill as IPOP Africa, giving meeting the consumer change in what they eat. Yeah,
Mhm.
so that is what I can say. That's the future which we want to
That
see.
is
And it
well,
better come.
you
It
know,
better come soon.
very quickly before we go, right?
Very
I like
quickly before we die.
I think what is making me a bit mad is you guys are sensitizing. You're talking much about millet sorghum, and when we were growing
Mhm,
up, I found
mhm,
these things at our own place. To be honest,
mhm,
our grandparents used to plant them, and then our fathers
mhm.
told us to cut those things down, and we
I
started
know,
planting.
and plant maize.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
started planting maize.
Mhm.
That's for
Yeah.
some misinformation we got, and that is something people
Yeah.
need to step to.
Yeah. That is, we need to bring those crops back.
Yeah, we do because I've never had. Is it called sorghum or something? I don't know.
Sorghum, yes.
Maybe I've drank it in beer or something, but I've never had it. Thanks a lot, Dora, for your time.
Mhm.
This was really interesting. Thanks for your information, and I think this will educate some people.
I hope it does.
It will.
Asante sana. You have a great day.